Welcome. Great to see everybody in the flesh. I ad-libbed, that's not in this script. Welcome to the First Unitarian Church of Orlando. I'm Craig Alig, a member of 1U and RUM, the retired UU men of First Unitarian. We welcome all who are in person with us today, as well as those who are viewing online. Leading worship with me today are music director Aubrey Connelly-Candelario, along with Roger Gatlin, Jim Niss, Dave Harvey, and Gregg Buckingham, with support from worship associate Linnea Nelson. Please take a moment to turn off your cell phones, and please make sure your Wi-Fi is off to support our tech needs. We welcome all of you to join us as we explore the Unitarian Universalist faith, which draws us into a community of justice seekers with a commitment to lifelong spiritual growth and compassionate service to the community. Whoever you are, whoever you love, you are welcome here, regardless of your color, national origin, gender, sexual orientation, age, physical or mental abilities, economic status, or religious background. As a Unitarian Universalist congregation, we are a non-creedal community and do not subscribe to a specific set of beliefs. We live by a covenant that encourages ethical behavior, affirms democracy, celebrates the worth of each individual, and unites us in search for truth in meeting. We welcome you. For more information about our congregation, go to orlandouu.org or email welcometeam@orlandouu.org. And join us after the service in our usual fellowship, where we gather with each other and chat. The meeting number and passcodes are on your screen, which we will repeat at the end of worship. All are welcome. Families with children, we welcome you here today. After the story for all ages, we will sing This Little Light of Mine. For those who wish to join our children volunteers in the entrance to the sanctuary for outside play, please pick up your children after the service. And some of the old guys here will need help too. Join us for fellowship in the courtyard. Please support 3 physical feet of space distance and masks. We have 2 important announcements. The Path to Membership event on March 6th has been canceled. New dates for this series will be announced at a later time. And finally, the Welcome Center is no longer part of the virtual fellowship after service. More information and other announcements are on slides before you and before and after the service. All have links in the weekly update or on our website. We're glad you're worshiping with us today. And now, Jim, we will light the candle, the chalice. Please say the words with me as we light the chalice. In the light of truth and in the warmth of love, we gather to seek, sustain, and to share. Please join in singing hymn 108, My Life Flows On in Endless Song.
Take
Today, some members of the retired Unitarian Universalist men of First Unitarian, known as RUM, have gathered to provide this worship service. RUM hosts a twice-a-month gathering for well-retired men. We often invite our wives and partners to participate in our social and educational outings, and we even sometimes partner with World Women United Universalists Relishing Life, our women's group. Since our founding in 2013, our mission has been fellowship and service. We have over 30 members. Over the years, we have engaged in several service and spiritual projects and lead an annual Sunday service. Today is one of those days. Our many participants today are happy to be together in person, so we don't have our weekly struggle joining the service online with our 1982 Commodore 64 computers. This morning, our theme is faith. 4 of our members will each present their varied personal reflections on faith. I trust you will find them interesting and possibly be inspired to think more about how you define faith. Please welcome our Generosity Chair, Cindy Schleier, say a few words.
Good morning, and I am not representing RUM. Just to be sure, I'm not a member either, but yes. I'm here because of the generosity campaign that begins now. Yeah, actually it never stops, but yeah. So this year, we are honoring our past, building our future, and loving our connections. With that said, it is going to be the 110th anniversary of 1U in Orlando, and we need to honor that. Yes. We have been building, and we continue to build our future with our wonderful new minister, Reverend Margaly, with the renovations of the space that we have completed, and will continue to need constant, updating, because that's what buildings do. And hopefully also building our RE program for adults and children. Yes. Yeah. And we are loving our connections, and that means loving our connections to each other as we come back in person, loving our connections on Zoom, and through the virtual world, loving our connection to New Image Youth Center and to justice issues around Florida, the nation, and the world. All that takes resources, money, yep. And so we are asking you to contribute in whatever way you can and with all your abilities. You have a card, or should have get it in the mail, your pledge card. You have the donate button on our website. We also will have cards in the foyer for you. And thank you for being here and giving to our church.
And now time for all ages, the parable of the spoons.
Let me tell you the parable of the spoons. There once was a mystic who was fascinated by the idea of heaven and hell. One day, in a deep meditation, the mystic came face to face with the creator of the universe. And of course, their first question was, What is the nature of the relationship between heaven, hell, and earth? And the creator of the universe clapped its cosmic hands, and immediately the two were in a room. In the center of this room, there was a round table, and in the center of that table, there was a roaring fire. Over the fire, there was a huge cauldron of a seething stew with a smell so enchanting that the mystic was drawn closer to the table, but not too close, because all around the table, there were sickly, unhealthy, groaning people, each of them with a long spoon, long enough to reach the cauldron in the center of the table, but not long enough to feed themselves. And they all struggled and they tried hard, but they never quite managed. The mystic didn't need to ponder long to understand that this was hell. Instantly, the creator of the universe clapped those cosmic hands again, and they were in a different room, except it was the same room. So much of the room was identical. There was the round table, the roaring fire, the cauldron with that delicious smelling stew in the center, and around it, people seated. But these people looked healthy. They looked happy. In fact, they were laughing and telling each other stories and jokes. Some of them were singing songs. Some of them were just listening attentively. And they also had those same long, overlong spoons. But as they dipped out of the stew, they didn't trouble themselves trying to make that long spoon reach back to their mouths. They simply reached across the table and fed someone else. And when they were hungry, they had the humility and the clarity of mind to open their mouths and let themselves be fed. The mystic didn't have to ponder long to recognize that this was heaven. And the beauty of this story is that it isn't just about heaven and hell as an afterlife idea, but it shows us how we can choose to experience heaven or hell here on earth. And as a matter of fact, this story inspired this song. No one gets to heaven alone, to heaven alone, to heaven alone. No one gets to heaven alone. We get there side by side, side by side, side by side, side by side. We get there side by side. No one heals the world on their own, the world on their own, the world on their own. No one heals the world on their own. We're healing side by side, side by side, side by side, side by side. We're healing side by side. No one does the work on their own, the work on their own, the work on their own. No one does the work on their own. We're working side by side, side by side, side by side, side by side. We're working side by side, side by side. Side by side, side by side. We're healing side by side, side by side, side by side, side by side. We get there side by side.
I'm Dave Harvey. I have two readings for today. From the Reverend Dr. Kendall R. Gibbons writes, "We hear because we are people of faith. Within each of us lives the conviction of a saving faith that could restore our broken planet and illuminate the lives of sisters and brothers. Ancient wisdom teaches us that we who must save the world must first save ourselves. We who would restore the planet must learn to restore the broken structures of the institutions closest to hand, to illuminate the lives of our companions and friends. To this end, let us center ourselves, acknowledging the trouble of mind and vexation of spirit that accompany us even here. Let us open ourselves to that creative mystery which is at work in our striving, whose servants we are and seek to be." And from the Reverend Gary Kowalski writes, "With faith to face our challenges, with love that casts out fear, with hope to trust tomorrow, we accept this day as a gift it is, a reason for rejoicing."
I'm Gregg Buckingham, and I'm a member of the Caring Circle and of RUM. And we share our joys and sorrows in this caring community in both times of challenge and times of celebration. If you are online, we invite you to share your joys and concerns in the chat or the comment. Please continue to share the joys and concerns you want to have read during the service with Gabby, our program assistant. She will make sure they make their way to us. Today we hold both the joys and sorrows you are carrying in your hearts with love within this community. Our sympathies are with Tina McIntyre's grandfather, who passed a week ago on Friday morning. Our community shares in the safe passage of his spirit to the next. We are thinking of the entire McIntyre family in this time of loss. We also honor trans and LGBTQ people whose human rights are under attack. And our hearts are with the people of Ukraine who are living and dying in fear. May peace come quickly. We come now to a period of meditation and reflection. Please take a breath and find comfort in your body as we take a moment to meditate and reflect. Our subject today is faith, and we will reflect on our own faith, however you define it. Henry David Thoreau wrote about having faith in a seed. He wrote, "Though I do not believe that a plant will spring up where no seed has been, I have great faith in a seed. Convince me that you have a seed there, and I am prepared to expect wonders." For those with a Christian background, you will recognize, if you have faith in the size of a mustard seed, you will say to this mountain, "Move from here to there," and it will move, and nothing will be impossible to you. It is spring, and many of us will be in the garden or admiring the garden as things begin to bloom. Some seeds are so small it is hard to believe they will produce anything, and then they do. The idea of a seed is often used in the abstract, talking about seeds using phrases such as, "I have a seed of doubt," or "there's a kernel of truth in that." Susan Taylor, an African-American writer, wrote, "Seeds of faith are always within us. Sometimes it takes a crisis to nourish and encourage their growth." Let us take a minute now to reflect and meditate on the seed of faith that nourishes each of us. May it be so. Please rise in body or spirit and join us in the singing of our centering hymn, Spirit of Life.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Andy. You'll have to trust me on that. I forgot my badge. He, him, his. I've been a member of our beloved community at 1U since 2006, recently retired, rapidly approaching 70, and a new member of RUM. I've been asked to spend about 5 minutes speaking about my faith. I was raised as a Methodist in a small town in Arkansas during segregation. My wife and I met in college, got married, and after graduation, we first moved from Arkansas to Los Angeles, then on to Orlando in 1981. Over the course of our lives, we've experienced great triumphs and joys, but also big losses: the deaths of our parents, tragic loss of intimate friends, a miscarriage, an abortion. My wife is an ovarian cancer survivor. We have one son who was born and adopted here in Orlando. He is gay and came out around 2003 when he was 15. It was then that my traditional church affiliation and I began to drift apart. There were, for me, issues, and I felt that if there was a choice, well, I took the road less traveled. I chose to love my son more than my church. And in the process, I found I had probably been a Quaker Universalist all my life, and a mystic, and I discovered 1U. But first, a little show and tell. In case you can't see in the back, it's a book, Progressive First Algebra. It was a Christmas gift to myself this year. Well, I gave it to my wife to give to me. It's actually a replacement copy of the original I had back in 1965-ish, when my mother, who was a math whiz, wanted to give me a head start in the subject, so I studied at home using this book and her guidance. So it has great sentimental value. It was about that same time frame we were watching the original movie The Wizard of Oz on our new color television. The transition from black and white to color was astounding. There's a scene in the movie, maybe you recall, where Dorothy, played by Judy Garland, and her friends are being led into the grand hall of the wizard, hoping that the wizard might help her get back to her home in Kansas. They're confronted with a gigantic talking head, flames all around. Dorothy's little dog Toto escapes from her arms and pulls aside a curtain to reveal their very human escort operating the controls of the wizard. The wizard exclaims, Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. What a brilliant spoof on reality and perception. So what about this algebra? You're probably thinking, yes. Or maybe not. But it's in my DNA. Thanks, Mom. In the real world, X-rays and neutrinos pass through our bodies without our awareness. And gravity is bending billion-year-old starlight even as I speak. So our personal perceptions just aren't adequate. But in algebra, you substitute letters for numbers, symbols for do this now actions, throw in an equality symbol, and bazinga. You have a powerful tool for seeing behind the curtain of our perceptual limitations. A couple of good examples. Using algebra, James Clerk Maxwell consolidated the equations that characterize electric and magnetic forces so that the propagation of light as an electromagnetic wave was established. Maxwell's equations had the surprising prediction that the speed of light, usually represented by the small letter c, should be constant. Einstein used this as a basis for his theory of relativity, and who has not now heard of Albert's famous equation E equal mc squared? Erwin Schrödinger of Cat in the Box fame and others used algebra as a framework for quantum mechanics. An offshoot of quantum mechanics, string theory, posits that reality consists of 9 physical dimensions plus time. So what we experience as our reality is only the 3-dimensional tip of a 10-dimensional iceberg. There's some reason to think that while our physical bodies only comprehend 3 familiar dimensions, being 10-dimensional beings, our consciousness is safely tucked behind a dimensional curtain, password protected. The next sunset you see, consider that it is a 10-dimensional event. Using your 10-dimensional eyes, you look at your hand. It's red-orange, like the sky, but lifting it, you realize there's no separation. Your hand is part of the sky. Now you turn and recognize your 3-dimensional body self, oblivious, unaware, reading a book, and now turning the page. You are the book. You are the story. It's our story. Turning the last page, you awaken. It's the Wizard of Oz, and you see everything. And you're home where you have always been, like Dorothy back in Kansas. Why do you suppose we worry so? Friends, we've finally arrived at the core. Reality. So vast, so much more than our ability to perceive or imagine, that we are an integral part of it. That nothing ever happens without cause or without meaning. That everything is connected. That nothing in life is ever lost or wasted. Not a single moment. Not even our suffering. Reality is a smooth, continuous, life-nurturing, benevolent miracle. Every day is a new opportunity to awaken, to be here, to be present. This is my faith. Every Thursday evening here at the church, we have a meditation group dedicated to insight or awareness meditation, also called Vipassana in the Pali language of Buddha. It means seeing things as they are. We meet at 7 o'clock p.m. in the studio in the RE complex. We generally spend 20 minutes in silent meditation. And last week we engaged in metta meditation, offering love and kindness and compassion and peace in an ever-widening circle dedicated to the people of Ukraine. All are invited, all are welcome. For information, You can contact our leader, Bob Ledger, or myself. And I'd like to leave you with 2 quotes that are very meaningful to me in my continuing journey of faith. The first by Ram Dass says, "We are all just walking each other home." The other by Meister Eckhart, "The eye through which I see God is the same eye through which God sees me. My eye and God's eye are one eye. Therefore, there is just one seeing, one knowing, one love. Thank you, peace, shalom, namaste."
Good morning. My name is Steve Atlas, and my topic is my search for faith and spirituality. I remember many years ago when one of my managers, Ariel Adams, died. All of us were invited to the funeral at his church. When we arrived, the mood and atmosphere was hardly what most of us would expect at this normally somber occasion. Instead, there was a festive feeling, almost like a party to which all of us were invited. Ariel was going home to Jesus and God, and all of us would join him sooner or later. His wife, Barbara, thanked us for coming and sharing in this special celebration. Afterwards, my wife, Karen, and I found ourselves almost wishing we could be a part of this type of community with its deep faith in which we could lose ourselves. But what do we do if we don't belong to this type of faith community? Does God really even care when we pray, I wondered? Does such an almighty being really intercede in the life of every person? Is there enough room in heaven for the endless human procession as people continue to live and die? I read John Shelby Spong's book, Unbelievable, in which a highly respected bishop tears apart most of what we have been taught to believe about God and our place in the universe. It looked to me as if each one of us is on our own. Perhaps there is a higher power that we call God that established a grand design for the universe and a scheme for ensuring its continuation and survival. But then, like the deists believe, God stepped aside and let the natural laws take their course. Within these limits, each of us indeed does have free will. But is that all there is? What then can we believe? I found myself leaning toward the idea of spirituality. According to R.C. Psych, spirituality involves the recognition of a feeling or sense or belief that there is something greater than myself, something more to being human than sensory experience, and that the greater whole of which we are part is cosmic or divine in nature. Now I lean toward a combination of faith and spirituality. For me, faith is believing in a higher power that planned and designed the universe and our planet as we know it. While this higher power that most of us call God does not intercede or interfere with our free will, it can, through natural phenomena such as floods or tornadoes, affect our quality of life, and indeed whether we will destroy ourselves and our planet. And sometimes our prayers do seem to be answered. Fortunately, each of us has a little bit of God within us. We call it our conscience, and it is this speck of God which drives each of us toward caring about our family and community and trying to do the right thing to make a difference. Because none of us knows for certain whether or not there is any type of life after death, the joy and fulfillment we can feel by helping others and using our gifts and talents to make a better world must be its own reward. Of course, our children, grandchildren, and unrelated people who we help and befriend will remember us with caring and affection. Perhaps this is what legacy means. For me, the key to God, faith, and the meaning in life often lies in spirituality, the feeling that there is something more than just us. I feel it when I walk by the ocean, when I feel impelled to compose music, where they could take time to get outside myself and really listen to another person and feel some of what they are experiencing. Giving ourselves permission to experience, wonder, doing what we can to build a kinder and more humane society, and feel joy and humility in the face of something greater than ourselves. For me, that is the essence of my faith and spirituality. Thank you.
Okay. Somebody lean. Our March Share the Plate partner is the New Image Youth Center. The mission of the New Image Youth Center is to provide a safe place to dream that fosters academic, social, physical, and mental well-being for our youth. All offerings from today, the first Sunday of the month, will be donated to them. Here we have a video about their work.
I am courageous and I will succeed in life. I am strong, I am courageous, and I will change the world. My name is Rashaya, I'm 13. I've been here for 7 years. This center is like, it's not an ordinary center. It's like a special center because we have family here that we know. Like, we have counselors, we have mentoring. They help us with our homework. They feed us for free. We come here for free. They pick us up from school. We go to field trips. We go out of town. Like, one time we went to Fort Myers. And it's just enjoyable. I love this center.
I don't think people really know this work cannot be done with one person, 2 people, 3 people. It really takes a village of people, and sometimes a part of your village, people may not understand the mission as much. More than anything, our kids, we have created this family, and our kids depend on us for so much. And sometimes it's just scary, right? But I often think, what would they do if we were not here?
I think in the past year, one of the things that stood out was a young man who had dropped out of high school, and he had previously attended the center, but I didn't know him in that capacity. I met him through another one of our youth. He brought him in pretty much off the street and said, hey, he wants to get his GED, can you help him? And I said, yes, of course, because that's what we do. If they need help, we're gonna help. And so over the course of a full year almost, I started working with a group of young men, and this one young man in particular, he worked his way from really struggling with all the material to passing all 4 components of his GED. To me, it was life-changing, not just for him, but for me, to kind of witness that development and that progress in such a short amount of time.
The center shaped me to the man I am today because I was in the streets doing bad things, but also the center also showed me a different path and a different route that I could be successful and also be a great man and a good leader to other students. I'll tell you one thing, if the center could change me, then it could change anybody else.
Most people don't know, but I do have a full-time job, and New Image is just my way of giving back. I'm a licensed mental health therapist, and I actually became this in the process of doing New Image. New Image is my #1, so everything that I do have to work around that is the reason why I do this, because our kids depend on us. And when you hear their stories, even some of the stories that you've heard, or even some of the things that they don't feel open in sharing with us, I can tell you that you would do it too. We're living a dream right now. We're in, who would have ever thought that 15 years later we would still be standing, still serving over 100 youth, and have so many alumni who've grown up and who are doing amazing things in this world now. It all started with a dream, and that's what it's all about. So our kids here, we push them to dream. Whatever that dream is, you can make it, and we're there to push them, encourage them, teach them positive affirmations. Our current affirmation that we use now every Monday, we have like a youth prayer line. It's I am strong, I am courageous, and I will succeed in life. I am strong, I am courageous, and I will succeed in life. I am strong, I am courageous, and I will change the world. I am strong, I am courageous, and I will succeed in life. I am strong, I am courageous, and I will change the world.
If you give directly through their website, please send an email to our program assistant, Gabby. That helps us keep track of donations made by 1U members and friends. If you would like to contribute to the many ministries of this congregation, you can use the donate button in the upper right-hand section of our homepage, orlandouu.org. You can write a check made out to First Unitarian Church of Orlando, or you can send a text following the instructions in the weekly update. Our offertory is Coming Together, written by Steve and Karen Atlas, and sung by the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of York. Steve will sing the first verse, and you are invited to join in on verses 2 and 3.
Good morning. My name is Roger Gatlin, member of Rome, and my subject on faith is my reflections of faith. from an agnostic and skeptic, so it might be a little different thing than you've heard before. But when asked about faith, I think most people think about God and gods, the purpose of the universe, the answers to why it's there, why are we here, especially what's the meaning of your personal life. Well, actually, I'm a little skeptical of specific answers to those kind of questions. These answers cannot be proven. They're not something testable. They can't actually be knowable. And in a way, they may just actually be in a different realm from the knowable, a realm that can't be tested and proven. I don't think it's wrong to think about these things. I just think it's wrong to think you can make specific answers that are testable and proven. And I also think it's wrong to impose these answers, these specific answers, on others, as many religions try to do. The eminent religious scholar Karen Armstrong states in 12 Steps to a Compassionate Life, I quote, "But unknowing remains an essential part of the human condition. Religion is at its best when it helps us to ask questions and holds us in a state of wonder, and arguably at its worst when it tries to answer them authoritatively and dogmatically." End of quote. I agree, and I can have wonderment in the unknown and unknowable. I'm comfortable with as agnostic as fitting my belief and my faith. That is, some things are just in that realm of the unknowable and the unknown. I'm not comfortable with definitive answers that lack proof, proof of a religious nature or even of opinion nature when people state their opinion. I think they're often based on pseudo-facts and pseudoscience. In general, I'm a skeptic. I question. I want more proof. I do have faith in the scientific method, however, which has found answers to many unknowns and will continue to do so. I suspect that there will always be unknowable and unknown things and mysteries, things us humans will always wonder about. There are some realms where science works best, and some realms where religions or philosophy can give us guidance. Science, which follows the scientific method, works because it's self-correcting. It may come up with incorrect hypotheses or incomplete theories, but this will be corrected and adjusted in time by the application of the method itself. The method always attempts to remove bias from the experimenter or prejudice in the experimenter. Other scientists must be able to replicate these results. As more data is obtained and analyzed, the hypotheses and theories will be adjusted, corrected, or maybe even abandoned. It's not stuck on one belief. So a question that I'm left with is, how might science and religion or spiritual values exist together? Can they coexist in harmony? I'd like to quote and paraphrase, because of my time limits, some portions of an interview with Catherine Hale. She's an evangelical Christian and an eminent climate scientist, well trained with a PhD in science. When asked about the conflict between scientific consensus and her religious beliefs, and the strong and sometimes vulgar comments she gets and attacks about her climate science, this is one of the things she says, quote, "The biggest struggle I have is that in the Bible, Jesus says to his disciples, 'You should be recognized as my disciples by your love for others.' And today, when you look at people who self-identify as Christians in the United States, love in others is not
one of the things at the top of their characteristics. End of quote. Continuing regarding the verbal abuse she says she often receives, she says, quote, "When that happens, I soon hear from somebody who is expressing love, joy, and peace, and patience and kindness, the fruits of the human spirit. And that encourages me again. My hope is recognizing that there are people out there who are motivated from the heart, who are expressing love for others. Some of them call themselves Christians and some of them don't. But those expressions restore my faith in the goodness of people, in the goodness of, ultimately, in the goodness of creation, and in the goodness of God. But yes, I suddenly do have moments when I say, God, where are you? So personally, like Catherine Hayhoe, I have faith and hope that people will add respect for science into their religious and spiritual beliefs, that they will understand and accept the way science makes adjustments and corrections, and how scientific truths are uncovered. As far as spiritual questions about the meaning of life and some ultimate controlling force, I'm content just to let that mystery be, at least for now. Thank you. And now, if you would please rise in body and spirit and join us in singing hymn number 398, To See the World.
A Vietnamese Buddhist monk who died recently. He talks about a stupa. A stupa is a monument with a domed top. He says, "Please do not build a stupa for me. Please do not put my ashes in a vase. Lock me inside and limit who I am." I know this will be difficult for some of you. If you must build a stupa for me, though, please make sure that you put a sign on it that says, "I am not in here." In addition, you can also put another sign that says, "I am not out there either." And a third sign that says, "If I am anywhere, it is in your mindful breathing and your peaceful steps." May we all be mindful of our breathing and our peaceful steps on our faith journey. Please say with me the words as we extinguish our chalice. We extinguish the flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.